This week, George Clooney and Mark Wahlberg brave a hostile sea in The Perfect Storm. Private Eye Emily Watson investigates a murder in Trixie. And Robert De Niro, Rene Russo, and Jason Alexander are up to no good in the adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Coming out of Bermuda, stuff coming out of Sable Island. And to me, I'm staring here at solid white shot. This could be a triple header.
Linda, you're behind me, so's your weather.
George Clooney shrugs off a hurricane warning and sets a dangerous course in The Perfect Storm, one of 5 new movies we'll be reviewing this week. I'm Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Richard Roper, columnist for the Chicago Sun-Times.
The Perfect Storm is a seafaring drama about recklessness and pride. When 3 major storms end up in the same place at the same time, 2 boats are unlucky enough to be caught right in the middle. George Clooney stars as the skipper of a swordfish boat out of Gloucester, Massachusetts. By venturing far out, they make a good catch, but then their ice machine fails and they have to choose between losing their fish or making a run through dangerous weather.
All right, we got good ice on them now. We seal the fish hold. A little bit of luck will deliver the catch and set the market. Pull up the gear. I'm going home.
They sail into the heart of the storm of the century. Here, Clooney desperately tries to cut loose an anchor that's battering the wheelhouse. A private sailboat is also caught in the storm, and one of the movie's best sequences shows a hazardous attempt by the Coast Guard to rescue the civilians on board.
Let's come right. 5, 4. Keep it steady. Keep it steady. Oh, shit, the cable. No, I got it.
The characters are not given much dimension, but since most of the time they're shouting at each other over high winds, we kind of understand that. Their relationships are just sketched in. We meet their loved ones on shore, and then the heart of the film is in the storm footage, which I thought was really well done. The helicopter rescue of the private sailboat provides drama that's really more exciting even than the fate of Clooney's boat, and the whole movie is a tour de force of special effects. By the end, I felt really wrung out. Thumbs up.
Yeah, I would agree with you that the storm stuff was great, but I think I like this movie more than you did because I thought the characters were well sketched. Although if I'm Mark Wahlberg, I would never leave any port that Diane Lane is in. Are you nuts? Why would you go out in the waters and look for fish when you got Diane Lane waiting for you there? I mean, she's fantastic. It's great to see her again in the movies. But I thought the characters were well sketched, so by the time they did go out to sea, and it does take a while for them to get out to sea and the storm to kick up, but we do care about them. And Clooney looks great. He's all grizzled, and he's not trying to be a pretty boy and everything. I thought he did a terrific job. And the storm stuff is fantastic.
Well, in a way, you know, the more the characters are sketched in, though, the less the movie is effective, because in movies of this sort, it's really the storm, the special effects, the adventure, the excitement, the challenge that is the subject, and to the degree that we have to cut back to those people sitting behind the bar and looking up at the Weather
when
Channel.
They cut back to the bar and the ladies were hanging out together and everything.
It's a way to give the information on the progress of the storm and so forth, but the real stuff is the special effects. But I think we both liked it.
Yeah, we both liked it, but I think that we do care about the characters because we get to know them a little bit.
Okay.
So, terrific movie. All right, our next movie is Getting to Know You, and I'll bet the entire budget for this film didn't equal the cost of creating just one of those big honking waves from The Perfect Storm. Yet in its own smart, innovative, and honest way, this movie provides more surprises and more real drama than almost any of the big-time films we've seen this summer. Getting to Know You is actually several mini-movies linked by a common narrator. He's this kid who hangs around a bus station all day.
Used to be a high school basketball coach, head of the policeman's fund, one of the most respected officers on the force. Now, he splits his time between Wade's Tavern and here.
What happened?
Him and his partner are always together. They're like brothers. Then one day,
It's always the same damn thing around here.
Well,
Here.
oh, Jesus.
What, heavy, right?
Oh, no.
All right, I'm gonna go check it out.
No, let's call it in.
Get it.
That's Michael Weston in a riveting performance as the storyteller Jimmy, and Heather Matarazzo from Welcome to the Dollhouse is Judith, the girl who is fascinated by all his stories.
Her husband's worst fear was duplicity. He seemed fascinated by the word itself. He believed his son lied for the pure pleasure and meanness of lying.
Mar, your father loves you more than anything else on earth. He told me point blank he loves you more than he could ever love me, just to give me fair warning. What do you think of that?
Next time he touches me, I'm going to kill him.
Now, Judith herself is at the center of a heartbreaking drama as she and her brother Wesley have been cursed with hard-drinking parents who barely eke out a living.
Warehouse security guard, taxi and limousine service, non-union drivers, please.
Non-union drinker.
You know, one of these days you're gonna have a goddamn cardiac arrest from all that studying, no exercise.
I'm taking boxing and gym.
That's Phoebe Newirth and Mark Blum as the parents, and Zach Braff as Wesley. They're the standouts in a uniformly excellent cast of familiar character actors and virtual unknowns who give life to the quirky, almost fantasy-like stylings of Joyce Carol Oates, whose short stories are the basis for this wonderful yet disturbing gem. Now, Getting to Know You takes a number of rapid twists and turns, and some of the miniature movies cry out for more emphatic resolution, but that doesn't detract from the overall satisfaction of watching a great ensemble do justice to a great writer, thanks to director Liz Ann Schuyler, who has crafted a powerful and unique film.
Boy, I really agree with you on this. And you know, at the beginning, I thought it's going to be one of those movies where everybody sits around in the bus station for 2 hours, but actually, it's ingenious the way we introduce characters who are in various parts of the station, and we cut outside the bus station and even the time frame in order to tell their stories, and then come back in, and they all have kind of a similar theme about lost love and fear, and kind of holding together as against a common enemy. And by the end of the movie, it's really, really touching. This is a good film.
I think it's a really good film, and it surprises us in several different twists and turns, including what happens to the narrator and our main characters there. We like them. And in the small stories that we shift and we get into them, we're like, wow, I could spend a whole movie watching this.
Last week on the show, we talked about a movie called Panic, which is apparently not going to open in theaters, and it's going straight to cable. This movie started on cable and is now going to theaters.
Right.
It was on the Sundance Channel. Now it's going out to theaters. And what we're up against, I think, at this point in American movies is movies like this. Serious, involved, challenging movies don't get into the theaters because they're being pushed aside by the special effects pictures.
Right.
And maybe this is the way to do it. Put it on cable as a sneak preview, then put it in theaters.
It's great that we
for
have
people
these
who
channels.
really care.
We have these cable channels now where you can find these things, and if you can't find it in your city, keep trying to find it. It might show up.
Okay, coming up later, Robert De Niro and Rene Russo star in The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle. Coming up next, Emily Watson is the malappropriate Trixie.
This is like a circus.
So how goes the Dawn Patrol? A job like that's got to be tough.
I can handle it.
I'm sure you can.
Emily Watson plays a security guard in a casino, and Nathan Lane is her friend, the lounge act, in Trixie, a new film by Alan Rudolph, who specializes in offbeat material, and Trixie is way off the beat as she mangles almost every statement she makes. The English language is a jungle that she fights through sentence at a time. The deeper she digs into the story of bribery and conspiracy, the more confused the bad guys are as they try to figure out what she's saying. Here she is with a corrupt senator played by Nick Nolte.
Well, why are you getting so nervous? I don't bite.
Sir, this is my first case, and I'm still a little green behind the ears. But one person has already been beaten up good, and another is scared of the same thing, only better. Pretty soon, somebody could get killed here and die.
Dermot Mulroney plays the gopher for a crooked developer who makes the mistake of trying to pick up Trixie.
So how about it? You want to make love with me tonight?
He takes her on board his employer's boat where the senator and his mistress are guests of the developer.
People are behaving like clowns. And it's embarrassing. I'm supposed to be out here enjoying myself. And quite frankly, this behavior, this clown behavior, is a little scary for me. As a child, my father took me to the circus. And a clown killed him.
Emily Watson is wonderful as the wide-eyed, gum-chewing babe in the woods, and Nick Nolte is good here, too, as a bad guy who can handle almost anything except the pure confusion that Trixie brings into every situation. I have a lot of affection for the movie, but Trixie's skewered dialogue gets old after a while, and then we're left with a fairly unconvincing crime plot that the movie takes way too seriously. Better to be a comedy all the way through, maybe.
I despise this movie.
Okay.
I thought this Trixie character, I wanted to take out a restraining order to keep her 1,000 feet away from me. You know, Norm Crosby did that routine in 1965, the Malaprop. It wasn't that funny then, and to hear it now drove me nuts. And Nick Nolte looked like he was pickled. He was so, like, weirdly tanned and old, and he was over the top. I didn't care about the plot. I thought it was trying so hard to be offbeat and different that it just failed on every level. I can't remember the last time I despised the movie as much as I hated this movie.
It may be that Alan Rudolph, to some degree, is an acquired taste, because he's made about 17 movies now, and all of them are a little bit like this in one way or another, where the people are not quite at right angles with reality. But I didn't like it either, but I didn't hate it. I thought Emily Watson was really kind of endearing, especially at the beginning until it gets to be too old.
She drives me nuts. She's annoying. I was hoping maybe one of those movies like in Psycho where the lead character gets killed off in the first 20 minutes so we could watch somebody else. That's how much she drove me nuts.
Too much to hope for. Coming up next, another hit show from the 60s gets the big screen treatment and the adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Hey, look, they look kind of familiar.
Yeah, haven't we seen those two somewhere before?
Baby boomer favorites resume their battle in The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle, a combination of live action and animation based on the beloved TV show from the 60s. In the early frontrunner for the most bizarre casting of the 21st century, Robert De Niro is fearless leader, who along with Jason Alexander as Boris Badenov and Rene Russo as Natasha Fatale plan to take over the country, if only they can shake off that pesky Rocky and Bullwinkle who remain cartoon creations.
You liquidated Bush and Square? Did you use the CTI? Yes. Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me?
What next? Anthony Hopkins doing Hannibal Lecter shtick? Now, helping R&B do battle is a rookie FBI agent named Karen Sympathy, played by Piper Perabo.
Hurry up, Rocky, slide out!
Just like old times.
This movie has a lot of inside jokes and a lot of bad puns.
This movie's getting kind of...
Don't say it.
Two-dimensional.
The idea of turning Rocky and Bullwinkle into a kind of Roger Rabbit light isn't a bad one, and I was totally smitten with Piper Perabo. But Russo and Alexander have only one big scene that falls completely flat, and there's no point really in having De Niro playing fearless leader. It's just embarrassing. Now, I really like the scene late in the movie when Bullwinkle sails through cyberspace, but inspired moments like that are spaced among far too many corny jokes. And you know what? Just because you acknowledge that a gag is corny doesn't make it any funnier. So I give thumbs down for the flying squirrel and his stupid moose of a companion.
Oh, come on, this was a funny movie. This is a funny movie for kids, and it's a funny movie for adults, too, because it has an attitude toward itself, and it's in on the joke. And I really was surprised how much I liked it.
What's the joke? It's in on the joke. What's the joke?
The joke is that these people are in a cartoon, and they know they're in a cartoon, and it's stupid, and they know it's stupid, and the narrator has an attitude toward it. But also, I want to defend De Niro. Now, you said, what's next? Anthony Hopkins doing Hannibal Lecter shtick. He did Hannibal Lecter shtick in Titus. And as far as De Niro doing his "Are You Looking at Me" speech, everybody else on Earth has ripped that off. It's his turn. Why shouldn't he, especially in a movie he's producing
himself? He's the one guy who shouldn't rip it off because it was such a classic
because
moment.
he can have fun with it. I smiled at that. I smiled, and I thought he was very good as fearless leader. I liked the patent leather hair.
Okay,
I liked
hair
it.
gave a great performance.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it was part of the whole idea.
Yeah.
Come on.
There were moments when Jason Alexander and Rene Russo are dancing and everything, and I could just feel the silence that I think audiences are going to have when they watch it.
I heard a lot of laughter, but I'm not reviewing the audience. I'm reviewing my opinion, and I thought it was funny.
I'm telling you how I felt.
I was surprised, and most of these retreads of TV cartoons fall flat on the water. Look at the remake of the Flintstones, for example, the sequel. This one, I think, had it.
There were some laughs, and I give them points for trying to do something different.
Okay, Butterfly is a new Spanish film that tells the story of a little boy and an old school teacher in a brief window of time in the 1930s between the formation of the Spanish Republic and the rise of Franco's right-wing rebellion. It's all seen through the boy's eyes, and on the first day of school, he's terrified. Little Mancho's mother introduces him to Don Gregorio, played by the beloved Spanish actor Fernando Fernan Gomez.
Tenga usted paciencia.
Es como un gorrión y esta es la primera vez que sale del nido.
Vamos, hijo.
He teaches his students to observe nature and value it, and Mancho's fears gradually disappear. Then the right wing of fascists, the monarchists, and the church rise up to overthrow the government, and little boy's parents grow fearful.
Papá no le regaló un traje al maestro. ¿Comprendes?
Sí, sí se lo regaló.
No se lo regaló. ¿Has entendido bien? ¡No se lo regaló!
No, no se lo regaló.
There have been a lot of movies about the Spanish Civil War, but never one seen so purely through the eyes of ordinary people. All Mancho's parents really want is to go along. They look to see which way the wind is blowing. Mancho, on the other hand, has found a friend and mentor in old Don Gregorio, and when the rebel army arrests the teacher as a communist, it leads to a real test of this little boy's soul. He sees that his parents are deadly afraid. He wants to do what they tell him to do, but he loves the old man, and the last scene of Butterfly is a real heartbreaker.
This is a sweet little film that then becomes very powerful, and I loved everything about it. I thought it was beautifully photographed, and the cast was terrific, and the writing is fantastic. And by the time you get to the end, what you said about movies about war, sometimes when they tell them from the standpoint of one family or a small village like this, it's much more powerful than all these big battle scenes or scenes of Mussolini telling what the people what to do in fascism and all that sort of thing. So it worked for me on every level.
It did for me, too. And, you know, whenever I see a movie like this, I kind of thank God that I live in peaceful times, because I don't know how courageous I would be. These people at the end really have to decide what they stand for, and they're just ordinary people. They're not heroes.
That's
and
absolutely right.
The way that everything comes together, all the things that have been set up in this movie come together at the end, makes you think, you know, how would I behave? What would I do?
It's one thing to have these pure political beliefs, but if you feel your son's life might be endangered by them, you literally burn those beliefs.
You've got it. When we come back, a group of 6 films by a great French director, now newly available on video.
Roger Ebert in the Movies Video Pick of the Week is brought to you by Nestle Raisinets. At the movies or at home, Raisinets.
When Robert Bresson died last December, the film world lost one of its 4 or 5 greatest directors. For his admirers, Bresson was like a cult or even like a religion. He worked slowly, making films of great rigor, often with spiritual undertones. His work has often been hard to find on video, but now New Yorker is releasing 6 of his titles in restored versions on tape, next year on DVD. The best known in the group is probably Pickpocket from 1959, telling the story of a man who basically becomes a criminal because he enjoys feeling guilty. Lancelot of the Lake from 1974 is a story of medieval knights told not for the excitement, but as a meditation on the duty of chivalry.
Exercez-vous, perfectionnez-vous. Surtout, restez unis. Oubliez vos querelles. Ne négligez rien qui entretienne l'amitié.
His films are an acquired taste, that's for sure. At first he seems impenetrable, then all of a sudden you understand, and he becomes a secret that you share with other Bresson admirers. 6 films by Robert Bresson, my video pick of the week. When we come back, Richard and I are going to talk about some of the big hits in theaters this summer right now that you should see or you shouldn't see. The theaters are filled with big summer movies right now. Going into this 4th of July weekend with so many choices in the theaters, Richard and I thought we'd recap some of the movies you shouldn't miss and a couple that maybe you should. You want to start?
Yeah, I'll start with Samuel L. Jackson as Shaft, still my favorite movie character all summer.
Okay, and I'm going to say Chicken Run. I think it's really a great movie for the entire family.
And I'm going to say Mel Gibson as the Patriot. Love the blood and guts, love the whole story.
And I'm going to say Titan A.E., a science fiction animated film that I don't know why it hasn't done better at the box office, because it was really thrilling.
It was fantastic. Now, the one to avoid for me is Gone in 60 Seconds. Just a terrible movie.
Gone in 60 Seconds and Forgotten Even Sooner. And I'm going to recommend Against Me, Myself, and Irene, which I thought was kind of a disappointment, from the Farrelly brothers and Jim Carrey. So those are 6 to keep in mind. 4 to see? 2 not to see. Okay. Now let's take another look at the new movies that we reviewed on this week's show. 2 thumbs up for The Perfect Storm, starring George Clooney and Mark Wahlberg. 2 more thumbs up for Getting to Know You, Liz Ann Schuyler's smart and touching film. Look for it. 2 thumbs down for Trixie. I had a certain affection for Trixie, but Richard wanted to put a stake through her heart. a split decision on The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle. I thought it was a lot of fun. Richard just didn't laugh enough. And finally, 2 thumbs up for Butterfly, a powerful drama set at the start of the Spanish Civil War. And so for most people, The Perfect Storm, and I say Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Yeah, I would stick with The Perfect Storm and that great cast and those amazing storm scenes.
Okay, you can hear our reviews at ebert-movies.com and find both Richard and myself, our print work at suntimes.com. Next week, more new movies, including Disney's The Kid, starring Bruce Willis as a man who gets to revisit his childhood, literally, and also Keenen Ivory Wayans' horror spoof, Scary Movie. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.